What is the trickster department of the spirit realm? This is a term I'm pretty sure I made up, and it is my own personal twist and interpretation of a pattern that I noticed and also something that is talked about. And it's talked about from several different perspectives. The idea is that if there is a group of godlike divine beings that are helping us and guiding us, that they guide in different ways, and that some of their jobs to guide are what many would perceive as trickster-like, that there's like a department of these divine godlike beings that guide us and help us, that the way they do it could be taken as malicious if one is very uncomfortable with their shadow and with their subconscious bullshit. This is why I don't trust any spiritual person. Not that I think that they have malintent, but I don't trust their judgment or that they are matured enough to be giving any sort of spiritual advice or input if they are fear-mongering about demons or tricksters or parasitic entities, okay? Because from my perspective, I mean, there might be somewhere parasitic entities. I don't know. But from my perspective and from my experiences, it seems that most of the situations that we deem to be like trickster-like are meant as a mirror to our own bullshit, okay? They're meant to poke our bullshit and be like, here it is. This thing was inside of you and it's standing in your way. Do you want to do something about it? And there are people who understand this and they do something about it. And there are people who see that and they take it as, oh, I'm being attacked, because they don't want to deal. And it's sad. It's honestly kind of sad, because the only reason one would not want to deal with their BS is if they hate themselves so much for it that they cannot possibly admit that the thing they're being mirrored comes from inside of them. So they have to cast their demons out onto an external entity. So it is sad, but I'm not going to put any trust in them. You know what I mean? The reason that I came up with this term is because, first of all, I started communicating / working with demons. And I don't think that the trickster department is full of what people call demons, okay? For the most part, demons are demonized gods. But I did have an experience, like there's probably old gods that are part of the trickster department and part of other departments that help in different ways. There's probably angels and demons that are part of the trickster department and part of other departments that help in other ways. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like categorizing it as this, but this was my experience, okay? Within 6 months, I had what I call my come to demons moment, okay? Where in a massive, massive way, the muckiest, most repressed shit and shame that was inside of me was mirrored back to me in a massive way, okay? And it took me months to make sense of it. I thought I was being punished for months, okay? And eventually I started to realize that what happened was that the crap that was inside of me was pulled out of me and shown to me. Here it is. This came from you. You've been asking us over and over, what's holding you back? So here it is. Here's the thing. Around this time period, I was also turned on to Carl Jung's idea of the trickster function. And my interpretation of this at that time was that Carl Jung believes that our minds have unconscious powers to essentially make like trickster-like things happen in our external reality in order to mirror our subconscious BS. That essentially our minds are so powerful that if we are ignoring some subconscious and unconscious issues, our minds are powerful enough to make our lives go askew, like essentially fuck our lives up, until we realize the ways in which our repressed subconscious and unconscious bullshit is negatively impacting our lives. That the trickster, I encourage you to look into it because it's going to explain it way better than I can. But at the time, I believed that he was just referring to powers of the mind. And then, so when I saw that, I was like, oh, well, it is powers of the mind, but I know from personal experience that it is also external entities. And it put it into perspective for me that the external entities are co-creating with us, with the powers of our mind, to make this happen. Like they're probably working with our higher selves or something. Like our higher selves are like, yep, this is where he, she, they, it is being held back. And then the member of the trickster department comes in and is like, poke, 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 poke. Here's the thing you refuse to look at. Do you want to look at it? Poke, 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 right? So then recently, probably within the last few months, I have done just a tidbit of a deeper dive into the idea of the trickster function by Carl Jung. And I found that he actually also believes that it is both external unknown divine forces and the powers of our own mind co-creating and working together, which was really cool to find out. But all of this led me to believe that there actually is like a trickster department of the beings that guide us, like the gods, the angels and demons, and etc. Like there is a department whose job and whose talent it is to come in and go, hey, here's that thing you don't want to look at. Here it is. Take it. This is just my perspective, my interpretation. But having had these experiences and also having observed other people and noticing that a lot of people have similar experiences to me, and some of them interpret it as evil beings out to get them. And I watch how their lives unfold. And some of them interpret it as their guides holding up a mirror to them. And then I watch their lives unfold. And from these observations and my own experiences, I really believe that there is just a trickster department of the spirit realm that is actually here for our best interest. And that anybody who is stuck in this very blamey, talking about parasites and demons and tricksters, is for the most part probably just afraid to look at their own bullshit.